Greetings, learners, and welcome to week 6. The focus of week 6 is culture and empathy and geography. So as we learn about the larger world, one of the benefits is that we learn how to treat each other, how to interact with each other with empathy and kindness. So oftentimes we think of geography as just memorizing where things are on a map, but that's actually not really what it is. So we want to teach geography in a way that enriches our life rather than dividing us into countries. So we're going to be focusing on geography and then where that leads to understanding of cultures and each other. So the first assignment is really learning about geography via the reading discussion in the textbook. Make sure that you're checking these page numbers, right? So chapter 10 is only 6 pages. It's a bigger section of chapter 13 and then a very short section of chapter 2. So you need all of those pages to be able to answer these questions. And so I know it's a little cherry picking, but it's because I like to have things match and be meaningful to what you're learning. Let's take a look at Brightspace. All right, so here we are in Brightspace, week 6, and you can either get to the reading discussion through the checklist, it's right here, or if you go to discussions, then the week 6 is down here, week 6 reading and discussion. Third assignment is books that teach empathy. So I've shared with you a number of books being read on YouTube. And so you're going to watch 2 of those books. You also, if there's a book that you really love that you think fits, I encourage you to include that. Just not all students have access to children's literature at home, and I don't want to send you to the library just for this assignment. So if you have books at home that you love, like for example, I have the Peace book, which I love, that my kids read, or I have this one on Sakura's Cherry Blossoms. These are books I have at home. They're not books I've included. So if you have books at home that you feel like would fit this vibe, I encourage you to use them. And then in the text submission box, you're going to discuss what activity would you use. So pre-reading activity is a way that you would introduce the book to introduce the concept of empathy and help students prepare with the text. So for the peace book, we would talk about what does the word peace mean and how big is the world? So that's what a pre-reading activity is. How would you front load that information from the book? So this is just going to go in the text submission box in Brightspace. You don't have to go on a Padlet or anything like that. So this is assignment here in Brightspace. You can see these are the books I've included. Again, if you have a book you love, you can also include that. Just let me know what book you're talking about, and then you're just going to answer here in the text submission box. The 4th lesson is our first lesson sketch, and so I've taken the full educational studies lesson plan and I've abbreviated it for this first part. We're just going to talk about one section, and then we'll get bigger and I'll give you more responsibilities. But this is the lesson plan template that is for all University of Louisville educational studies. So again, you're just going to be doing a section of the lesson plan template. I'll open it up, but I wanted to show you some examples. So here's an example. The student identified the content standards, what they plan to teach, and what the materials are. And then all you're doing for this week is the intro, or the activating background knowledge, the input, which is the actual teaching, and the closure. This could be an assessment, it could be a discussion, it could be a project. For example, for the Sakura Cherry Blossoms books this week, my students are making cherry blossoms, painting them with Q-tips. So that would be the closure. And so it could be an art lesson. You can learn a lot of art through geography, but this gives you an example of the level of detail I'm looking for this time. In the future, I'll be looking for a lot more detail, but we're just starting to get really, what does this section mean? What does this section mean? What does this section mean? You get that, and that's all that you need to accomplish for this week. So if you click on this document, it's going to be a forced copy to give you one of these. These are some resources You should not purchase lessons through Teachers Pay Teachers or Etsy. And again, using AI, even though I can't check for it, it not only does it violate the university's honors code, but it shortchanges you as a teacher growing and learning. And so these are some resources that you can use to help you, or you can Google and look up lessons, but then you need to write the sections yourself, but please don't pay for any. And the very last thing for this week is turning in that cultural learning experience. I assigned it in week 3. You were to visit a cultural site different from your culture and then write about it. And so that is due at the end. So I've moved the assignment back to week 6. And some of you have already turned it in, and that's awesome sauce. It's just a reflection, right? It's an honor system. So you don't have to submit any formal documentation. Pictures are great because they add to your story, but you won't be marked as not completing if you don't. You can do it in a document, a Word document or a good Google Doc, but you can also just write it in the right submission box. It does not have to be MLA. It's about sharing your story more than it's about formatting. All right, that's it for week 6. I hope you have a wonderful week, and I'll be in touch soon. Take care, guys. Bye.